Hi, welcome. My name is Beth. I am a librarian here at the GTU Library, and we're going to talk about top tips for library research. These are tips that will hopefully save you a little time, be more efficient as a researcher, and maybe you'll learn something, save you maybe a few hours even. We'll see. Let me just turn my screen sharing on. And here we are on the library website. All right, so while I'm talking about these top tips, don't worry if you don't get them all written down. At the very end, I'm going to show you a list of all of them so that you can go back and review and things like that. So here we go. As you can see, I'm on the GTU Library website. And the first tip is to start in Summon and narrow your research topic. So for example, if you're in Summon here, this is Summon. Summon is our all-in-one search to find books, articles, dissertations, everything that we have together at the GTU Library in one search here. We still have Grace, which is our book catalog, and we still have all the electronic resources. This is our big list of databases, which you can search individually. But Summon is the all-in-one search. So if I put in a search, let's say interfaith care, for example, you're going to see I'm going to get a lot of search results, and this is way too many for me to possibly go through. So one way of being more specific is just to add more terms. So I can add chaplaincy, for example. And now, I don't know if you saw before, I had 10,000 results. Now I have less than 1,000. So this is just a way to be a little bit smarter when you're searching. You can add extra terms here. For example, I could add hospital as another term, or United States, or whatever terms you might possibly think of. You can just keep adding them in here, and that will give you more narrow results. So you won't have to search through so many things. And then, of course, another way to be more specific is on the side. This is a bonus tip. You can do full text online. If you're at home and you don't want physical books, you'll get our ebooks and articles. You can narrow down to scholarly peer-reviewed. You can also narrow to type. So if you know you're looking for a journal article, you can click this and you only have 160 results to look through. There's also publication date and other discipline and subject narrowing options down at the bottom there. So this can all save you a little bit of time rather than having to read through so many results. The second tip is advanced search is your friend. So there's an advanced search here, which is even better. You can click on the advanced search, and you can see I have interfaith chaplaincy. Let's try something else for fun. How about Martin Luther? Now, you're going to get, a million results with Martin Luther, but for example, if I pick language, you can narrow to a specific language, and there's a huge number of things in this list. If I pick German, Deutsch, you have to pick the language in the correct name there. You can see there's some other options too, but I can do that and do search, and I'm going to get Martin Luther with just in German, and I'm still getting 7,000 results. But this is a way to be more specific. If you know that you're looking for something, you can find all of these things. Let's go back to interfaith care for a second. Whoops. Interfaith car is not the correct term. Okay. Now, what it did is it added my search results, so I need to clear my filters. It added it was still doing German. Here's interfaith care again. All right. Third tip, expand your search terms using subject headings. So for example, some of these, you might be calling it interfaith care. You might have, hospital care. There might be different types of care you're thinking of. This might not even be hospital. This might be spiritual care. If you're in Grace and you're looking at the records, this will tell you the availability, this book is on the shelf. It is at SFTS, our branch library, and there's the call number, but a lot of people miss the subject headings. And there's a lot of subject headings that can be really helpful. For example, hospital patients, pastoral counseling of. This is a term you might have not thought of on your own. Pastoral medicine. And these are not just going to be in the books. You'll find them in the articles too. A lot of times if you're looking at articles, when you pull up a search result from Summon, for example, if it takes you to the ATLA religion database, they're going to have the same subjects in there. So you can pull it up, you can see all the subjects, and the subjects are all links. So you can just click on a link and you can see pastoral medicine. Okay, that's a great term. And I have 83 results using that term, and you can see any of these. You know, there's lots of different options for here. So we have different books in here. There's a thesis in here. There's lots of different options using search terms. And these might have not come up just using interfaith care because they were listed under pastoral medicine. Some of these might be under both. For example, interfaith spiritual care. Here's this book again. It's right here on the list. So there's a lot of different options for subject headings, and I highly recommend using them because these databases, the catalog and the article databases, might use slightly different terms than you use. And knowing what terms the catalog is using helps because it just makes your searching a little bit more efficient. I'm going to go back to Summon here. And let's scroll down a little bit here. Let's find an article. How about this one? Here's an article in the Journal of Healthcare Chaplaincy. And here's a PDF of that article. Now, I should say, if you're at home and you're clicking on an article, when you click on the article, it will ask you to log in. You'll log in with your student ID number and your last name. Because I'm on campus, it remembered me. I didn't have to log in. But what I want to point out, here we go. So here's some of the little footnotes. So some of the footnotes, some of the bibliographies, when you're scrolling through, let me find another good one too. You are going to see the reference list. Here's some more examples. And so when you're looking at any of these articles, you'll see reference lists, you'll see footnotes, you'll see in the back of the books too. You'll see footnotes, bibliographies. Use those, plug them in here in Summon, and try to find some of those articles too. So that's tip number 4. Use the bibliography from your sources. So a lot of these different sources, you know, they'll list it whether in print or article. They'll have references and resources and things like that available. And those might be really great articles for you to track down as well. So you can put in, if you're in Summon, you can put in the title of the article, title of the book. You could search by author, you know, and then you'll pull it up and see if we have it. Tip number 5, which is kind of related to tip number 4. Explore beyond the GTU library with Worldcat and reciprocal borrowing and interlibrary loan. So what these are is you may come across things that we don't have. And there's a lot of ways to get them. Worldcat.org. This is a freely accessible website. You don't need a login to get into it. There's a little advanced search here. This is for books. This is a really good place to find books that we don't have. So we can put in, let's do interfaith care again. And, oh, how about this one? That one looks good. When you get into the search results, what you're going to see, oh, we have this one. What you'll see here is you can put in your zip code, and then it will list by location who else owns this book. So you can see we own this book. But a lot of times you'll come in here and you'll see UC Berkeley owns the book. And remember, as a GTU student, you have physical access to UC Berkeley. So you can walk over there and you can check out books from their library too. Worldcat's really great if you don't live in Berkeley. You put in your zip code and you can find out the libraries near you who have a particular item. Now, we do have a number of agreements with other libraries. I'm going to open up, this is a map of our some of our reciprocal borrowing libraries. This is in the guides. So if you are on the library homepage, there's guides and tutorials. And I'm in the guide, Getting Started with Library Research. There's a tab for reciprocal libraries. These libraries, we have agreements with that you need to walk in the library, tell them you are a member of GTU library. A lot of times they'll ask either for an ID or a schedule to prove that you are. And then you will be able to borrow books as if you were one of their own students. So for example, if you are in Nashua, Wisconsin, you can walk into that seminary. And these are all, I should say, these are mostly seminaries. If you are in, I don't even know where this is, Ankeny, Ohio, you can see some. If you're in Chicago, there's about 15 different libraries. It's kind of hard to see from here, that are all piled up here. So if you're in Chicago, there's a lot of different options. But this is for North America. So there are libraries in Canada on here, and there's a lot of different options. This is the ATLA reciprocal borrowing map. So ATLA is the American Theological Library Association. So these will all be seminaries, religious programs, something with theology. Another option that you have is to contact a different local university. So for example, if there's a public university near you, and find out what their agreements are. And I'm happy to help you with any of these things. But this can save you a lot of time, because if you need a book and it's already in your town, it's going to be a lot faster for you to borrow it there than have us ship it. And I'm going to talk about that next. That's another time saver too. But this will be very fast because you can use Worldcat, find out who has the book near you. You can look at this map, and then you can just look, what other universities are in your town. You put in your zip code here, you'll see where is this book located, and you can see all the places that it's located. So these are all really good options for you. The other thing I mentioned, interlibrary loan, there's a link here. Now this is for things, books and articles that the GTU does not own and UC Berkeley doesn't own. So for example, if there's an article you want and it's not available here, we will find it and we will send you a PDF of it. For books, if there's not a book that's available here locally, we will get it sent to us in the mail, and it goes library to library. If you're a distant student and you live in, let's say, Boston, for example, you should find out what borrowing privileges you have at local libraries there, for example, public libraries. If there's an item that we have on our shelf and you want it, we will send it to your local library and you can pick it up there. So let's say it's a thesis that a GTU student wrote and you want to read it. That's no problem. Just fill out the form from your other library and we will send it that way. So it's library to library. And this is a nice way to save you time. All right. The next tip is to use technology to help you. So there are a lot of apps, and you can find many of these just by Googling apps for graduate students and things like that. Things like Library Extension, which will help you in Amazon find who owns books near you. It works kind of on the back of Worldcat a little bit. Evernote and OneNote to take notes. You can also use Google Docs, things like that. I have friends that just take pictures of a lot of things that they're researching and upload them and have an album of a book. So if you're, have a lot of those, using things like Focus Booster, which is an app that it works actually on computers and on phones too. What it does is it helps you keep track of how long you're researching, but it locks you out of a lot of other things. And there are many apps like this that, it can block Facebook for 20 minutes and just basically keep track of the time you're spending. And this particular technique is focusing for 25 minutes and then taking a 5-minute break. So there's a lot of different technology that you can use to help you keep track of your stuff, to keep track of your notes, focus, stay away from the social media. There's different apps like that that will do that. And I do know some people that just, don't have a Facebook account while they're writing their thesis, for example. There's lots of different ways to do that. The next tip is for a citation manager, and this is using Zotero or another citation manager. What Zotero is, and this one is free. There's also one called Mendeley that's free. They're both great. They actually will keep track of, these are all the citations I found in our catalog and our databases. It also works with other catalogs, UC Berkeley's catalog, and basically any library's catalog. You can use it with web pages, with Amazon, however you're finding your sources. It keeps all the information in here, and it works with Microsoft Word or OpenOffice or Google Docs, things like that, and it makes the citations for you. So as you write, you can tell it, I want to cite this thing, and it will cite it in Turabian and then create your bibliography at the end in Turabian and in alphabetical order. If you're interested in learning about Zotero, we do have live face-to-face workshops. We also have recorded one of the other workshops that I did on Zotero. It's about 45 minutes long. Most of that workshop is how to set it up. How to set up Zotero, how to configure it, make it work with Turabian, make it work with Word, and have it sync so that you don't lose any of your data. So for example, if my computer crashes, all of this data is saved online so that if I have another computer with Zotero on it, it's all still there and I can still access it. So Zotero or some other citation manager can really save you time, especially if you're taking a class and then 2 semesters from now, you remember this book was really great. What was that book called? You can go back in and you can find it again because you have it all saved. I see a lot of students that organize their folders. You have folders over on this side here. They'll organize their folders either by class or by topics. They might do it per paper, have a folder for each different paper they're writing. There's a lot of ways to organize your stuff. But if you have it all in one place, it's easy to find again. Then you can say, where was that article? Oh, here it is. And it has a link back to the article, where I found it, what day I found it, all the information about here. And you can add in notes directly in here. And you can add in other things too. For example, art. If you're writing about a painting, you can cite the piece of art, but you can also cite books about that art. So there's a lot of different options for keeping all of your stuff organized. Okay, that's Zotero. Go back to the library homepage here. The next tip I have, and I don't have a visual for this, but it is to keep track of your deadlines on your calendar and use reminders. So for example, if you have Outlook or a Google Calendar, you can set a reminder for a couple of days ahead of time. So for example, 4 days before it's due, remind me I need to go in Moodle and post, a comment about this reading. So you can add all those little things in, and then you can have it pop up and just remind you, did you do this? Did you do this? You can do that with the calendar or with the tasks. There's also like to do. In a lot of these calendars, you can add that in, or you can use a separate app to keep lists if you're a list maker. Personally, I use one called AnyList. So you can keep a list of like, what's my to-do list? And you can cross it off as you get it done. And it's nice because I always have my phone with me to just see, what do I still have to do? My 9th tip is to back up in the cloud. So if you want to send emails to yourself, you could do that. People will use Google Docs or Dropbox. There's just lots of different ways to keep your stuff backed up. But you don't want the only copy to be on your computer. I've seen too many people, even this semester, who've dropped their computer or spilled something on it, or it just died and they lost things. So you don't want to do that. If you have your things backed up somewhere electronically, and on the cloud so you can log in and get them. That will save you a tremendous amount of headache. My final tip is to get to know your librarian. So one way to get to know us is through chat. So wherever you are, there's a little chat box here. You can see right now it's orange. That means that someone is available at this minute, and you can chat with us if you want. You can also come in and visit us, both here in Berkeley and at the SFTS branch. We have librarians available. You can give us a call. There's our phone number. You want to give us a call, 510-649-2501, or email us, library@gtu.edu. Now, you don't necessarily have to get to know a GTU librarian. For example, if you are a student who's studying religion and art, maybe you want to walk over to UC Berkeley and get to know some of their art librarians. There's a lot of different options for you to reach out, and if you get to know a librarian, it feels very comfortable to just call and ask questions, or just chat and ask questions. And that's what we're here for. We're here so that if something comes up and you get stuck, you can ask us. So get to know us. If we're not scary. All right. And as promised, I do have a list of my time-saving tips. So there they are. Start and summon, narrow your research topic. Advanced search is your friend. Expand your search terms using subject headings. Use the bibliography from your sources. This is a really good tip for finding, especially, primary sources. You can trace it back. It's nice. Explore beyond the G2 library with Worldcat and reciprocal borrowing. Use tech to help. And tech shouldn't be a distraction. If it's not for you, don't worry about using it. But it is a good way to, focus what you're doing and keep track of everything. Use Zotero. And again, if you want to watch the Zotero video that I made, you can, or you can use another citation manager. For example, Mendeley is a really good free citation manager. Keep track of deadlines on your calendar and use reminders. Back up in the cloud and get to know your librarian. And here's our contact information again. So there's a lot of ways that you can be a little more efficient in your researching, and we're happy to help you with that. And again, if you do have questions, reach out to us. We're here. We're happy to help you.